been a lot of discussions today about the industry and the technology, but I'm going to dive in a little bit into how we actually make money in IoT. So my name is Margot Berry. I'm the VP of Strategy at BeWhere here. Can somebody click the button so I get, thank you. Okay, next one. So I'm going to tell you a success story. It's our success story. So BeWhere is, we're a company, we're Canadian-based, we're publicly traded. Actually, today our stock went all-time high, Owen. When we started the company, it was 5 of us. And the idea was to do asset tracking. The founders of BeWhere, Owen Moore and Chris Spencer, came from the fleet tracking industry, tracking vehicles. And back in 2016, this was already a very mature market. There was not a lot of growth. The next market was IoT, asset tracking. But in 2016, there was no network, nothing. So what we started the company with was Bluetooth asset tracker. We had a product that we were selling through fleet partners. And the problem was that it's a very limited technology to do asset tracking because you need to have gateways. But really, it was just a placeholder until the networks were rolled out. So we were betting the future of our company on LTM, Cat-M1, and narrowband IoT. So it was really a bet against the future. And why we thought this was going to be the next big thing is because of the white papers of the GSMA and the guidelines. The other thing that we had, this is kind of the secret sauce, why BeWhere has been so successful, is because we had absolutely wonderful partners. Those guys right here. We had Bell, and we had AT&T as partners. Back in 2016 already, we knew that the network was going to happen, but we couldn't really test it. So Bell and AT&T, they opened their lab to us. They let us test our new module and a new product in their labs. And then in 2017, they actually lit up the first LTM towers in Canada and in the US. So we could actually test our new devices. Those things here, I'll show them in a moment. So what that made us is the first company in the world to actually have a working asset tracking device on the LTM networks in North America. The networks were officially launched in May 2018 with AT&T. Our first sale was 20,000 units through a partner, Fleet Complete. Bell launched LTM in Canada in October 2018 and started selling our product. So that's the second ingredient of our success. We had partners in technology and partners in sales. From there, I'm just going to go straight to the numbers. My background is in finance, by the way, not really technology. I hope I make sense. From there, explosion, really. So you can see in purple, this is our IoT sales. In orange, this is our Bluetooth. Obviously, it's very small compared to that. So the transition since 2018 was to start selling asset tracking based on IoT. It was quite tough back then because it was a new technology, it was a new network. People didn't really understand what it was. So our sales cycle was fairly long. We had to really explain the technology. We had to make return on investment cases. But then it changed during the pandemic, very humbly. It is during COVID that we turned our first profit. I think it was Q2 2021. At the time, we went from 5 employees to maybe 10. So we doubled the size of the employees, but still very small. And since then, since COVID, sales have been bigger and bigger. We had added a number of partners, resellers. So we sell through AT&T, we sell through Bell, we sell through Lyft, if you know them. We do bike shares all over the world. We sell through Geoforce. We have the largest customers in the world. The top largest carriers, the governments, New York City, whatever you want. We sell through everybody, especially under white labeling. The second thing that's important to remember to stay relevant in this industry is to continue to innovate. So we had a few devices to show you the transition from 2016. This is, you guys are supposed to do that for me, by the way. Here, I'm going to hold it up. Okay. So Claude is holding our first solar tracker. This is our 2018 solar tracker. This goes onto trailers mostly. 2020, let me think, 2 years later, 2022, 2023, we had our B-Mini which was the smallest asset tracker. So technology, miniaturization of the components, becoming cheaper and cheaper. We're talking about sub-$100 devices here. And then this year we launched our new solar tracker. You know, the first sale was pre-order of 5,000 units for a huge trailer company in Canada. The opportunities that we're seeing now are getting bigger and bigger. The sales cycles are very short, especially with relationship with the carriers. We get a foot in the door with massive opportunities. Right now I have 2 opportunities, 110,000 units with one of the world's largest company, and another 40,000 units with a huge trailer company. Last July, we closed one of our largest sales to date in one order, 17,000 units with one of the world's largest carrier, 3 letters. I can tell you who it is. So now my colleague Brian is actually going to dive into some use cases. Brian?
Thanks, Margot. I might need that in a second. I'm going to build on something Margot said earlier. Our backgrounds, the management team at BeWhere, we're co-founders in telematics. And it's actually going to be this December, it'll be 25 years this December since the telematics, internet-based telematics. We launched actually out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, on 2G packet data, sending packets every 100 meters. So it was like every 10 seconds. You could see it on an Internet Explorer browser. Back then, Netscape had 50% market share. And it was $40 for a megabyte of data, and our services were $40, just to give you a little context. And we took that company public and sold it in about a decade, and with 85,000 units, so after 10 years since the start of the market, for about 38 million Canadian was the sale. Here we are in year 25. I think the technical penetration in the market is probably in and around 50%. There's lots of vendors still competing. There's still some market left. There's interesting additions to the array of things they're selling. But you know, we launched, as Mark pointed out, we launched in 2018. So at the start of this year, we actually hit over 300,000 devices in sales, and that's about 5.5 years, just short of 6 years, just to show you a change in scale. When we launched in 2018, that's the first time the telematics vendors were starting to announce numbers in the neighborhood of 1 million devices, so the Geotabs of the world, that sort of thing. So that's about 19 years into the market, they were hitting 1 million devices. So a little bit of context in terms of, you know, with IoT, we often refer to it as an obnoxiously large market. That's part of the complexity, is the scale of it. But just to give you a little sense of where we're seeing the growth, this is a different market. We, you know, as telematic vendors, we always used to get the question, can you track the stuff on the back? And the price points were ridiculous. With the advent of CAT-M networks, LTM networks, the price points were there. It drove down the chipset costs. The wireless prices were down, and the low power regimen provided some interesting functionality, and I think that's how things got started. And as Margot pointed out, we started out with the cheap and cheerful stuff. And you know, a lot of our early partners were telematics. It's like a bad habit. We knew the issues they had, so a lot of our early work was APIs into them, doing the customization. Today, what we wanted to talk about is, you know, we are seeing the trajectory change in IoT type applications. For asset tracking is our specialty. And part of that change is occurring at the enterprise level. And what we're seeing, the experience in the marketplace, is by taking the applications as they are today, so sometimes it's an API feed into somebody else's application, sometimes we actually use our own API, so we have a web application. And what's happening is by tweaking the solution, so they need the asset tracking piece, but they need something to put it over the edge for the ROI to make it sing. So a little bit of tweaking. So in some cases, they might have really stringent security requirements because they've had some vulnerabilities in the past. So we can build that up, integrating with some of their internal systems. In some cases, we've done some firmware adaptations. So that's stuff, you know, we're end-to-end, so we control the firmware on the hardware. We do the software on the back end. We also do the those three key pieces. And with that customization, we're starting to see those 5 and 10 and 15 and 20,000 unit opportunities. And the way we're getting to them is through the partner model. So we'll talk about some of the stuff, a lot of the work we've done. Margot alluded to, the launching with AT&T, launching with Bell, being in the cage. We go to market with their sales teams. They have more relationships. We're about a 15-unit, 16-person shop. I'm not going to meet people like the Kansas City Chiefs, or I don't have them on my phone book. But we talk to the carriers. They bring us into these relationships and take us into these opportunities. So it's this agile customization, I think, that's really seen the change in trajectory where we're getting these large opportunities. So here's an example. So Claude's team brings us into a large trailer leasing company, and of course people want to track trailers. That's a good thing. But in their particular case, their business is driven on billing for mileage. So that's the issue. And as Margot pointed out, we launched with a smaller device. When we came out, we were really driving for the low end of the market, cheap and shareable, how low can you go? We had a device like this that was doing 15-minute updates in motion, otherwise maybe once or twice a day when it's stationary. And this is what you get. You kind of get as the crow flies. And for long term, when we have some large corporate wholesalers, trailer fleets nationally, they know it's 8 to 10% off. It's not a big deal for them. Trailer leasing, it wasn't. So we were looking at the next generation of our hardware for a variety of reasons as you continue to innovate. And by increasing the size of the battery, increasing the solar panel, we could get it down to 5-minute tracking safely and improve the data sampling with which to start to do the calculations. And not only that, our CTO and the team went in and did some back-end work in terms of pulling that data into essentially routing algorithms to refine the calculations and bring the accuracy up to 99%. And in doing that, those are little tweaks to the back end. I don't want to diminish the amount of work they put into it, but it's not like curing cancer. It's building what we have. We basically unlock the opportunity. You start to get these 3,000 to 5,000 unit opportunities start flowing. So that's a good example of the partnership with Bell, bringing you in, doing the discussion about it's kind of a slight customization. It's not like starting from scratch. Another great example is through one of our telematics vendors. They are dealing with a large cable manufacturer supplying fiber optic cables or copper, that sort of thing, on the large reels. You can kind of see on it, those little black devices, a little bit of customization. So they take this device, they want it in black. But knowing the location of those reels is valuable in and of itself. But they needed a little push, and essentially working with them, so with the telematics partner, working into the end user with our team, basically a little bit of customization on this, and we could start to count rotations so that they can get consumption of the device. So both backwards and forwards. A little bit of work on the firmware side, so it's probably about 6 months of back and forth and doing testing to get the accuracy up. And then, in the back end, so the software, the API feed through the third-party application to the end user. They can pull the information, do their own internal calculations in terms of the consumption. Next thing you know, you're looking at opportunities that are north of 10,000. And those are sort of, just two quick examples of what we're seeing fueling this trajectory change, the increase in growth, unlocking the enterprise opportunities. Those discussions where you engage with the partners, they bring you in, they have the relationships. We can come in and tweak a solution to send it over the top and get those large opportunity closes. So that's the coverage. I think I would hand it back to Margot.
Yeah, no, you did great. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to have our esteemed guest answer a couple questions. Claude, we'll start with you in English, please. If you can please introduce yourself, and then if you can tell us what do you think the role of telcos is when working with strategic partners like BeWhere?
First of all, my name is Claude Arpin. I'm from Bell Canada, a carrier in Canada. So my role is twofold. I run the 5G accelerator program, and I'll get into detail of that. So it's basically future looking at new technology, and LTE-M at the time was future looking. And I'm also responsible for IoT solution in general. So BeWhere is a great partner of ours. So the relationship between a company like BeWhere and Bell is symbiotic in the sense that when I'm in the 5G accelerator program, when we talk about LTE-M, so we're network operators and we're expert in our domain, but we're not expert in tracking. So we did a lot of use case with BeWhere where the information that we get on our side is also as valuable as what we're sharing. So when we launch LTE-M, we typically design our network to cell phone, not IoT specific. As we move into 5G and the new technology, we need the feedback from engineers that are working with these new products. And it's basically collaboration between each other to build these things. So I remember when we did the winery, when we did the launch, I mean, it was agriculture, we did water planters, we did a bunch of stuff that basically it's outside of the radio consumption that we normally have. So we work with our network team, sometimes on the ground, so we need to figure out frequency antenna design. So this is symbiotic as we move to IoT. We keep talking about IoT. We're not doing IoT. We're doing problem solving. Using, and I keep referring to BeWhere as my salt and pepper. They're two ingredients that we put together. And as operator, we talked about AI. I'm adding AI function into the data that's going to be consumed in the future. So it is a very meaningful relationship and great partners. So,
well, thank you, Claude. Scott, same question for you. Do you want me to repeat it or so fresh?
I think I got it. Yeah. So Scott Manwaring, I'm with AT&T. I run our emerging market sales organization. So we really focus on high growth companies like BeWhere that sort of have a hockey stick trajectory in a really unique use case. You ask us what kind of role does AT&T play, and I would say that AT&T, we wear a lot of hats and we play a lot of different roles. I think the most critical role that we play for strategic partners like BeWhere is that we tend to be a growth accelerator. So companies like BeWhere, they work with us. We tend to have access to resources and tools inside AT&T that a lot of times these companies just don't have access to at this stage in their growth. And so we're able to sort of lean into those and to help them to build their business and scale a lot quicker than you typically would, I think. We bring in a lot of different resources. We have access to a lot of different resources in AT&T that I think help. In the case of BeWhere, you look at things like certification. So bringing a device to AT&T, there is a certification process in which you need to get your device certified in AT&T, and sometimes that can be difficult. There's challenges with selecting the right module, pre-certified modules. You have to look at things like antenna design. And so we have access to some of the really, really smart certification engineers that we can introduce to our partners, help them through that process, help them to interpret some of the results that they're getting back from the labs, et cetera. In these types of companies, and I know BeWhere, we've had a lot of these conversations, you're looking at launching in different areas, you're looking at strategic customers you have at different regions within the United States. It's important to get access to, say, like our RAN engineers, to get access to our coverage maps, to kind of see, here's where this customer wants to deploy. What does the heat map look like? What's the coverage look like in this general area? And we're able to bring those experts in, actual RAN managers in those locations that they can have conversations with, and they can actually look at and tell them, here's what you're looking at. So I think those are critical. I think probably maybe the greatest asset we bring is obviously our name, is AT&T, right? And that a lot of these companies, they just really need brand recognition. They need sort of someone to help them, get in the front door with a lot of these big customers, start to build their resume a little bit. So we're able to bring them in, introduce them that way. We do an awful lot with PR. So PR is a great thing as well. And we did a lot with you guys. We continue to do it. We're doing it right now, which is great. We get to, really bring visibility to our partners. So I think, strategically, those are really the things that we really tend to focus on. You know, I guess I behoove me to mention also our enterprise, like with you guys, right? You know, we have a big enterprise, a lot of enterprise sellers. They have a lot of relationships. So when we do have a strategic partner like a BeWhere, you know, we like to bring them in. We like to introduce them to the enterprise, have our enterprise sellers start bringing up in conversations. Sometimes we're able to actually productize, you know, these strategic partners of ours. And that's when things really start to take off, you know, like we did with Fleet, which is great. So I think, you know, I think soup to nuts, that's really how those are kind of I think that's the primary role we play really is, like I said, we try to really help companies scale quicker, more efficiently and effectively by bringing in the resources that we have. And I guess just to wrap it all up, you know, once you finally do all those things, it's time to kind of take over the world, right, and to scale. And we do have a great global relationships with carriers around the world so that we can,
Absolutely.
you know, provide you with one single SIM and one rate plan. So
Yeah, I need to
it's
get
been a great relationship. Oh, we get cut off.
We're good? 1 minute? Okay,
We're
so I'll wrap
getting
it
out
up.
of time warning.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Claude, Brian. So to wrap this up, like I said, BeWhere, we went from 5 to 17. We became profitable in 2021. Today, our recurring revenue actually covers our expenses. This is a huge KPI for a publicly traded company like ours. And it is really thanks to a relationship with our carriers and a lot of our resellers as well. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you.